Revision is really very powerful because a lot of the time we are stuck because of a pattern we are thinking about from our past. You really are that powerful. Remember, when you are manifesting, you're shifting timelines. You're never changing the original timeline. That timeline is already written out. You can't change that. You're shifting to a brand new timeline. You're experiencing a brand new reality, and automatically the past is changing regardless. You just don't realize it. But when you are revising, you're consciously changing the past. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Irresistible and I am a manifestation and solar alignment coach. My channel is geared towards helping you become your highest potential so that you can create and live the extraordinary life that is your birthright. In today's video, I'll be talking all about revision. But before we get started, just a quick reminder that I have multiple offerings, whether you're looking for one-to-one coaching, courses, digital products. You can find all the information in the description below. I list out everything in the YouTube description. And of course, you can also go to my website, monashable.com, for more information. And I'd like to invite you to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon if you'd like to receive a notification anytime I upload a new video. In today's video, I'll be talking about revision because sometimes people still don't understand what is really happening when it comes to revision, what it is that we're changing, how it's working, and all of that. So I thought I would share this video today to explain all that. So revision is a manifesting technique that allows you to change the past. As you know, when we are manifesting, we are shifting timelines, we are shifting realities. A given timeline can never be changed, so you're never going to be able to change the future or the past of a given timeline because that's already written out. But what we can do when we are manifesting is shift timelines. So we're telling a new story, and in telling that new story, you're shifting to a parallel reality. And there's a timeline that is completely different from the old timeline, which is a reflection of your old mental patterns, your old story. When it comes to regular manifesting, whenever we're manifesting a change, we're actually hoping to manifest our present and our future. Revision is changing the past. It's manifesting, but with respect to our past experiences. Revision is not a change in perception of something. It's not you perceiving something differently, although of course it may play out that way, but we're not just saying you're changing your perception of something where you're now experiencing a more positive outlook on a scenario. It's not like that. You're actually changing the scenario. You're changing the past. So it's not so much a perceptual experience, it's an actual change in your past. When it comes to you revising something, your memory is always going to reflect the original scenario. Otherwise, you will not know that you revised. That's the key, is that you're always going to remember the old story playing out. But you're changing the either physical outcome or you're changing any of the trauma that came with it, if that makes sense. So I'll explain that a little bit more. I will give you some examples of how revision is really working. The first example would be, let's say, someone who always has a history of heartbreak and rejection. So they might decide that they want to change that history. And in doing so, they might affirm that I have always been loved, pursued, chosen, and committed to. So they're telling a different story about their past. They've always been this way. So that person may use some high-level affirmations to say, I have always been loved, chosen, pursued, and committed to. I have always been prioritized. I have always been a heartbreaker, for example. So that person may not remember a past being any different, but the trauma associated with that past will be gone. So they will find that it's much easier for them to believe that they are chosen. They kind of may have the memory, but it's no longer traumatic to them or triggering to them. That's the basic level that revision can be used for, is you're kind of wiping the slate clean, you're starting from zero, so there's no history involved. So while your memory may not change, your past experiences are no longer holding you back in any shape or form. That's the first example. The second example is you actually changing the outcome on a certain decision from the past. So let's say you took a decision that ended up resulting in something that you regret and you want to change that. So someone might use revision to go back to the moment right before making that decision and making a different decision mentally. So they're doing this, envisioning themselves making a different choice. This is where Neville Goddard gives an example of you going and revising the moment right before the outcome that you want to change. So it's that moment where you have a fork in the road and you decide to make a different decision. And that decision may impact multiple things that play out later on. So you're going back and changing it, and you're envisioning yourself making a different choice. That is another way that you can actually revise something. So what's gonna happen, all the events that play out after that will also change. In your memory, you remember taking the original decision. You're not gonna remember making that new decision, but you're going to impress that new memory into your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind is going to have that new memory, and it's going to then impact a number of other events that play out afterwards. Now, for you to see the outcome of these events, you need to not interfere with that. You will see the outcome of that decision play out differently. Somehow you're going to experience that. So let's say you made a decision to invest some money that resulted in some losses for you. And so you go back to that moment before making the decision to invest, and you imagine yourself not making that investment decision. So you never took action on that. You did not invest the money. You kept the money with you. You just focus on that point right before the decision. What will end up happening is that sum of money will show up somehow in your reality. You may not see it specifically in your savings account, although that can 1,000% happen, but you may have that sum of money somehow come into you in a different form. Doesn't matter how this happens. The less you insist on how this is going to happen, the more you allow this to happen for you in a way. So that loss is no longer experienced. You did not experience that loss, and the money is still there somehow, some way. It will come back in somehow, some way, or it could very well be in your savings account. That's the second one, where you're going back and making a shift. Here, you're still going to remember the original decision you made, but somehow, some way, that money that you lost is going to show up again in your reality. That's the second way that you could be actually revising something. The third way is, let's say you manifest a change in your past involving other people, and while you remember the original way things played out, they won't remember that. So let's say you had a fight with someone and you wanted to change that. You wanted to change that past experience and you wanted to play out completely different. It's not very different from the second, but here there's another person involved. So you're imagining yourself going back in time and you never fought, you always stayed friends. Maybe it's a breakup, it's someone you broke up with, or maybe it's a friend you had a falling out with, or maybe whatever incident where there's someone else involved and something ended badly. You go back and you revise that again, going to that moment right before that happened, and you envision a very different outcome. You envision that you never fought and things played out very differently. What will happen, and if you persist in doing this method, which Neville speaks about, is do it several times until you feel it's impressed in your subconscious mind. You may do this in sats, you may envision that scene, a very short scene. It does not have to be something that is a long scene, just a 30-second clip that you imagine again and again, potentially in the state akin to sleep. Not necessarily, whatever you feel like you want to do, a 30-second clip that you repeat over and over and imagine a very different outcome playing out until you feel it has impressed into your subconscious mind. You do that, and then what will happen in such a scenario is, while you will still remember the old incident, this is the thing. With you, when you're revising, you're always going to remember the original, because otherwise you won't know that you revised. This is the key. It's for you to actually know that you revised. Otherwise, you will not realize that you have made that shift and you've created that shift in your reality. So you're gonna remember that things played out a certain way, but you've revised them and you feel like it is real. That new story, you feel you've actually revised that memory. So even the trauma of that memory will no longer be there, but just the thought of it is still there. You remember it, but you're kind of impressed a new story. That person will not remember the old story. It will be like it never happened. So the other person will just not remember the past. They will not remember the original story. So here again, you are changing something, and the other people in your reality will always reflect the new story. You're the one who remembers the old story because you have shifted timelines, and you're the one who remembers the old timeline. In the new timeline, the people will just not remember the old story. They were not part of it. So this is the third way and example in which you can revise something. Revision is really very powerful because a lot of the time we are stuck because of a pattern we are thinking about from our past. At the very least, you can do it in the first scenario. Have fun with this. I mean, it does not have to be something major for you, just enjoy it. But at the very least, you can release the trauma that you may have experienced as a result of things that happened in your past. So example one would be a perfect way for you to try it out. But don't hesitate to try out the other two because you really are that powerful. I know sometimes it's hard to grasp, but you really are that powerful. Remember, when you are manifesting, you're shifting timelines. You're never changing the original timeline. That timeline is already written out. You can't change that. You're shifting to a brand new timeline. You're experiencing a brand new reality. And automatically the past is changing regardless. You just don't realize it. But when you are revising, you're consciously changing the past and all the negative emotions or feelings that come along with that. I hope you liked this video. If you did, then please like, comment, and share, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next video.